Hello and welcome to my review of Venom number 24, legacy number 189, and it is Venom Island Part 4, written by Donny Cates with art by Mark Bagley. And I have not been down on the Venom book, but I haven't been as excited for it since the Absolute Carnage story ended. And it's one of those where you do see kind of a setup. Null is still coming. We're going to get a Null event. It seems like maybe this summer that's where we'll get that. And so I've been waiting for something to get me back excited. I mean, to the point where Venom becomes, again, a book that I have to read every time it comes out. Right now, yeah, I'll read it, but it might be a day later or so. It's not the book that I just rush to get and read anymore. I just need something. I need something to grab onto, something that's going to get me excited like that. And I'm telling you, this issue does it. And I'm very happy that that's the case. If you remember, last issue ended with Eddie using some of his smarts or we thought his smarts, to electrocute both the Carnage and the Venom symbiote. Both were in him. He ended up electrocuting them out, then being saved by Captain America. And as they flew away from Venom Island, it got nuked. And it seemed like, okay, well, that's the end of the Carnage and the Venom symbiote, at least for then. We'd have to see what's going on or whatever. And that's where you pick up here, where Eddie, 3 weeks later, he thinks, is in the hospital in New York recovering. And he did also cut off his hand at one point, which is kind of disgusting. But he ended up doing that on Venom Island. So when you start off, you have Donny Cates doing something kind of very clever. It's kind of a, 2-in-1 deal where he's talking about phantom limb syndrome. And yeah, he could mean his hand, but he pretty much means his symbiote because he is disconnected from it. And he, in my mind, thinks it's gone. He'll never see it again. So he's trying to deal with that while still kind of feeling it there, feeling something. And we see what that something is as we go. But as it's going on, you have him, hey, it's been 3 weeks. I'm trying to recover. Oh my, I was on this island. Well, here I'm back. And Cap comes in and says, hey, you have a visitor. Someone's here to see you. And if you've been reading the book, there's really only going to be one person who would come to see Eddie, and that's his son, Dylan. And his son, Dylan, comes in and says, Dad, hey, Dad, what's up? With that, though,
this is all wrong.
It is wrong because up until now, if you've been reading a simple panel like that, Dad, it's off. Because Dylan hasn't really called Eddie Dad to his face. Now, I do think that when all this is said and done and they get a little bit of quiet time, which, is hard to come by when you kind of are dealing with Null and symbiotes and things like that. But when they get to that, I think that we have reached a point where I think Dylan will call him Dad. But at this point to Eddie, this does seem a little off. And so he's like, hey, what's wrong? And Cap explains that we can't have Dylan anywhere near you anymore. You can't take care of him. When we release you from the hospital, you are not going to be his guardian. Too many wacky stuff. It goes on around you. This Venom stuff is not great for a father and a son. Well, in the meantime, you have Eddie freak out because he doesn't think that he has that anymore. He doesn't think that he has the symbiote deal. And also, he has protected Dylan. He has gone out of his way to make sure Dylan's safe. And with Null coming, somebody's going to have to watch Dylan. Dylan is going to be a target. Dylan is part of all this. Eddie thinks, I'm going to be the one who's going to protect him. Cap's like, no. Null is not coming. There's no way Null is coming. You know why? Because Null is already here. And there you go. They pull the curtain and there is Null just out. And that is bananas, Gwen. Gwen's right. She's always right. She's an angel. You end up seeing that Null's there. Now, again, reading the book, something's up. That's not right. That doesn't seem like anything. If so, boy, that was a lead up to something crazy where we've been waiting for years from the come, and now we see that it's already happened in the deal. Well, Eddie is really starting to question this. Well, as this is coming on, though, you end up having a doctor show up and say, hey, time for your medicine, time for the nightly medicine time. And Cap's like, okay, doctor, well, me and Dylan are going to go, and we're never going to see you again. Eddie says, smell you later. And they leave, and you don't see the face of this doctor. And it gets very pronounced as you go like, Why is this doctor always in the shadows? And what medicine is that? That red medicine? What is it? Kool-Aid? It's not Sunny D. That's for sure. So what exactly is going on? And in that, I love the way that Donny Cates is making this kind of a weird sort of mystery for Eddie in the issue, but also for the reader. We're not really being shown anything bigger than what Eddie is seeing and what Eddie's reacting. As far as we know, we ended up leaving the island with Eddie last issue and then just wake up with him in the hospital room. And I think it's really well played. And I'll also say, I didn't say it, but when you end up having that big deal with Noel there's where you got me back on the book. Now I'm excited again. I'm fired up. So I'm starting to get, all right, the hype's going now. And then it just continues because with this weird doctor putting this medicine in, again, it looks like a blood transfusion. So you're even like, did they say medicine wrong? Was something wrong between the script and the art, the coloring maybe? Because it don't look like no medicine. And this is where Eddie even says, what are you putting into me? And then he realizes it's Carnage. Carnage is getting pumped into him by Cletus Cassidy there as the doctor. This is not really happening. This isn't what's happening. This is in the mind of a Carnage, symbiote deal with Eddie, because he ends up freaking it out. You end up having trash talk going, and you end up seeing that Eddie never left the island. He never left the island. It's one of those, like, the call is coming from inside the house. No. The Eddie is still, we didn't leave the Shonies. We're still on the island. And there it is. You have the Carnage there, pretty much taunting him too, because he didn't leave the island. And so he is there. The Venom symbiote gone. We don't know where that is. He's completely in control with the Carnage symbiote taking him. And so we go back to Dylan, and we have Sleeper symbiote there, who I love. Sleeper symbiote has been telling Dylan all this time, you can't play with this piece of the Carnage symbiote. It's not silly putty there, buddy. And people don't even know what silly putty is anymore. So why are you mentioning it, Dylan? But you have it going on here where he's playing around with it, and the Sleeper symbiote, you got to stop. This is freaking me out. And then you end up seeing where Dylan says, I can no longer see Null. That's something that he was doing this. He was able to see him. He can't. There's too many. There's too many connected. He can't see, but the only thing he can see then is the very scared, lonely, by himself, on own Venom symbiote. Nobody likes on own, and he's there. He's cowering in the woods. Dylan sees this, and he's kind of freaking out because if that's the case, well, where's his dad? Where's Eddie? What's going on? And so he freaks out. And it's one of those, like, when you get that big surge of adrenaline and strength where an old lady picks up a car and twirls it around like a basketball and then throws it 7 states away. And really, I know this happens. I've seen the BuzzFeed list. Well, he ends up freaking out and ends up making a portal of sorts, because when he walks through, he's almost like walking through as like a symbiote type version of himself going into the void, where he then can go to Venom Island and talk to the Venom symbiote. He's not really there, and he's doing this remotely. And as the Venom symbiote says, only Noel can do this. And this is huge. We've been waiting to see a lot more of what Dylan's powers are. What's going on? Well, now he's pretty much, and the Venom symbiote's pretty much spelling out, you have the power of God. You have the power of the symbiote God here. And so we're still waiting. Is this the end? Is this the pinnacle of powers? Does he have more? But it also sets up the idea that if we are going to have Null, and we will, he'll get here. But when he does, is Dylan going to end up being the big person who ends up stopping him? Are we going to have him be, or is he going to be corrupted? He's playing with that Carnage symbiote. He's doing things that he probably shouldn't be doing, especially for somebody who is not really in tune with what's going on. He doesn't even know how some of these things are happening. So is this going to be one of those where he gets corrupted at a point and he becomes the main villain? Is this how Null actually comes to him? We'll see. I think that it's not going to be clear cut either way. But I'm very interested. Again, this is a big moment. Then the big moments continue because you end up where the Venom symbiote says, listen, you're doing this remote. I'm sorry, I done messed up. I ended up messing up, and I ended up giving in, getting scared, leaving, and Carnage took over your father. I'm here by myself. I was too weak. I couldn't do it. I could not stop it. And Dylan reassures him, well, I'm here now with you. We're together, and we'll be pretty strong. And so when you do this, where they're forming into this symbiote deal, the Venom symbiote then tells them, well, you know what? You're not really here. You're psychically here, but you're not physically here. And that means that I am not just, I don't have to adhere to your human physical form. I don't have to go around looking like a Dylan, a young kid symbiote. The sky's the limit, the imagination. We can make chalk drawings and end up being that. And so what you end up having is a awesome cliffhanger where you have the V-Rex, the Venom Rex, then pretty much form and then attack Carnage with Eddie there saying, get the hell away from my dad. You know, once you end up being the V-Rex, you don't care about cursing. You end up being able to curse however you want. Nobody's going to stop you. You're the V-Rex. Who's going to stop you just because you say hell, right? H-E double toothpicks it is. But yeah, that is a huge cliffhanger. It is very exciting. It's cool. And this is where I think that this book, when it hits, you end up getting some really cool moments, some wow moments, but you also get really good art. And Mark Bagley is really good on this book. Yes, I wish Ryan Stegman was on it right now. He is my favorite on this and one of my favorite artists at Marvel right now. But Mark Bagley kicks butt. I mean, he does. I ain't going to curse. I'm not the V-Rex, right? So I say kick butt. And he ends up doing that, even though I know that Gwen will end up cursing because at the end... Again, Gwen's right. She's a gem. But yeah, at the end of this, I'm on again. I'm excited about Venom. I want to see what goes on next. There are some wow moments. It's a great little deal with the of the mind Eddie, then revealing that he's being duped. Also seeing Dylan up the ante. We see more powers and ending with V-Rex. It's awesome. So yeah, I'm on board. And this is where the next issue... I am going to be full bore when that comes out. I'm reading it right away. So, mission accomplished, Donnie Cates. And because of that, I'm actually going to give this a 9.5. And a lot of that, normally I could even say, well, it's like a 9. But because it kind of reinvigorated my enthusiasm for the book and got me so excited, I'm just going to go with my gut. I'm going to go with my excitement. 9.5 out of 10. And really, I can't wait. But that is it. I hope that you enjoyed this video. We're all kind of stuck indoors, it seems, with the coronavirus and all that going on. So why not listen to podcasts and watch videos and do all that? And if you like this video, that'd be great if you subscribe to the channel. Also, you can like it and all that stuff, but also look in the description of the video where you'll see all sorts of links. Our Marvel Comics podcast, our DC Comics podcast. We have a Marvel Comics site, a DC Comics site. We end up Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff that's connected to the weird science family of nonsense. And you can go to all of those. And I'd love it if you did. A lot of times with these books and with these things, we'll end up discussing it a little more at length on the podcast. I'll be talking to Brandon about Venom. I'm sure we'll probably go into it a little more. Plus, you'll get more than just one person's point of view as well. So I hope that you go and listen to that as well. Plus, we'll have a bunch of other things going on the podcast and things. So please check that out. Please subscribe, and I'll talk to you later.